Joyful Danish. Stay human. Is it even still possible to stay human? Maybe. It's not too late. Hello guys, welcome back. How to Stay Human in Tech, Web3 and Web2. I'm your host, Daniel, cryptotherapist, and today's episode is a little spicy and it's a little bit sad too. But nonetheless, we are diving into some of the crazy unhealthy cases in Web3 space. Because from 24/7 gambling loops for people who really maybe can't handle it, to social cult behavior and full-blown online meltdowns. These aren't just stories for entertainment. They are signals of a deeper issue, a community in emotional crisis. So let's break it down. What's happening? Why are some people falling into extreme states? And most importantly, how can we take care of ourselves and each other? And it's big stuff, Let's start with some of the examples from the front line of Web3. Because again, sure, I also try to include the Web2, but in this case, we haven't really seen that wild of a cases in Web2 as we really have seen in Web3. And part of it is because it is like 24/7 always live, and people have hard time regulating themselves, So, for example, when we saw with pump.fun, a Solana-based meme coin launchpad, where people can deploy tokens in seconds. And that eventually led that some user reportedly launched 20 to 50 coins a day, staying up all night, tweaking memes, running Telegram bots, and engaging in what one person called a dopamine roulette. And that's the thing. Eventually it's going to pull the trigger because, metaphorically of course, your dopamine can't just run haywire. It will eventually deplete, and then it goes way down, and then it can take some time before you recover. So this kind of behavior can sort of be described of having these sort of characteristic, like not eating or sleeping properly or at all, gambling away their savings, losing a sense of reality, and becoming more aggressive and paranoid because of this constant stimulation is going to drive your nervous system crazy. And that's surely not that healthy, and it's much harder to regulate that when it's already gone haywire. And we also see it on X, Twitter, rage and cult dynamics, like you're seeing threads where someone goes like, I lost everything because of certain project. I gave it my life and they betrayed us, or we are broken, And it's not just disappointment, that's identity fusion, where someone merges their life, their sense of self, with a token, or a leader, or a narrative. And when then suddenly maybe that rug pulls, or like it gets hacked, or something goes wrong, sometimes it can then evolve into a cult-like behavior. I remember this, another YouTuber, I think is called the Dollar Cost Crypto, Miguel. He said crypto is sort of like a football club and a cult and a religion. Yeah. And a casino, Yeah. And to some extent, there is maybe some truth to that. Because blindly loyalty to influencers or leaders or group thinking bullying of the people who are the non-believers, public shaming and mental breakdowns, it's it's not easy always, And if people often are just socially themselves, but then they have this online world that can spin a certain narrative, and they put more money in that they actually can not lose, afford to lose, they are going to be emotionally more invested then, because they have more at stake. They have put more in than they actually realized that was good for them, and probably not that healthy as well, and harder to manage as well. So yeah, it's it's unfortunate that often these cases here becomes trial and error, because nobody really talk about this or trying to think more preventative, and how can people actually avoid these kind of extreme situations, because we have seen cases. I think actually they had to shut down or pause anyway. Was it pump.fun or something like that at some point, because it just went so crazy that people was like threatening to unalive themselves if this coin they have created did not pump within so many seconds. So it was kind of like they were taking themselves as a hostage, right? And it's pretty crazy, when people push themselves so far out that they're completely not really in tune with themselves, or anything else for the matter. So yeah, all these screens and substances and self-neglect, it is pretty wild, And some of the ways they're trying to cope with it then is like they take stimulants, right? To trade longer, or they take alcohol or weed or something else to cope with the volatility. And they may be ignoring their partners or their family, or lack of hygiene or sleep. And they really risk a lot of stuff in order for they're really hoping that this is going to be worth it, because this has so much potential and this is going to the moon, and Earth is calling, We want Earl back, or Ben, or whoever have lost contact, and slowly losing touch of reality, And one told me that his body was like starting to shake, and he hasn't eaten for like 12 hours, and he couldn't stop watching the charts, and it was just, it can be an addiction, It can turn into that. But what is going on psychologically, Because why does this happen? I mean, I can recommend, because we can, for sure, this is actually a big topic, because I actually went through over this in episode 5 and episode 3, where I talked about in episode 5 about the stress signs in a bull market and stress signs in a bear market. Those signs are from clients I've had for several years, throughout the years. And I started to map out the different stress signs that can occur in order to start to create more awareness, but also it was also to be more aware myself of what is actually happening here. Why do I tend to do the same mistakes, or suddenly come back to like, all right, now we're back here, and it seems like it's the same thing that has happened. But then I slowly found out there were nuances to these different stress signs, physically, psychologically, and behaviorally, that was at play, and was sort of like invisible enemies, right? Because how are you going to know? If you sit alone and you not really have any colleagues or anyone else you really talk with, all these things, a lot of this stuff is happening inside your head, or in your body, or in your behavior. But if you're not really that self-aware and not really done that much therapy or like self-development in that regard, and even if you have, I mean, I've been a therapist since 2012, this was a totally new ball game, especially when I also started to then go full time into crypto. As a crypto therapist, you can actually, short plug, for limited time, book a free session with me. I do accept crypto, but the first session is free, but only for a limited time. People can book online sessions with me and to figure out if maybe I could be a great fit and I can help you maybe in whatever you want in your crypto health journey. But it's definitely something that is been insightful for me as well, because I could see I was like kind of forced to develop tools, exercises, systems, a lot of knowledge and a lot of time have taken to not just talk with clients, but also people and interviews and going through a lot of stuff myself in crypto to slowly unravel what is actually at play here. And I could definitely see that there was a lack of grounding in real life. So for example, back to like what is going on here psychologically, because we can go through some of them, but please go back to episode 5 or 3 if you want to have a more in-depth knowledge about what is actually at play here. But some of them is, for example, like if we take a little bit overall, crypto offers an extreme reward scheduling, fast wins, big losses, and this mimic of slot machine mechanism is the most addictive system in psychology. And when people don't have communities or purpose offline, they pour it all into a token and timelines, Discord, X, whatever. And again, usually because they invest so much that they are going to be overly invested also in an emotional way, and your thought process and so much of you are suddenly automatically going to go more into that. And that's going to potentially trigger the feeling of missing out, the FOMO, because it's 24/7 global, permissionless nature of crypto. It keeps people constantly on. There's no ends, no boundaries, only the fear of being left behind, which is sort of like a boundary on its own, right? Because if you did actually get left behind and like that was it, you were forced to kind of realize, okay, maybe I've gone too far, maybe I should, collect myself and actually come back to yourself and build yourself up from the ground up again, because then that's the other thing that also can happen, you slowly lose your identity and you project into the project and pointing at them, the leads and the influencers, and not really taking responsibility that this financial or life crisis may project these hopes that you may have into this crypto project, expecting salvation, but when it fails, it feels like a personal betrayal. And that can be rough, and it can be hard to recognize that this is what happens. This is not going to recover, and that's rough, I often compare it to like the Klondike, the gold rush in California, where people went to hunting for gold, They bought a piece of land and were hoping to strike gold. And maybe they got it sometimes, but then another idiot stole that gold from them, And that's also what we can kind of see in crypto. People go mad for it, for the potential of gains, and when they get it, they potentially haven't put up their proper security settings or wallet settings, or their self-custody is not really that in place. So before they knew it, the sudden gain of rewards is suddenly lost because of being rushed and haven't done proper research or haven't done proper setup for their self-security settings. So that's another thing that I actually also focus on. the preventative thinking of setting you up properly. Because let's say that you actually are gaining the big jackpots, in crypto. Sure, but just like when we see people winning a lottery, right? The study shows they tend to lose all the money within reasonable few years, 5 to 7 years, and even becoming in debt because they increased their lifestyle so much that they don't want to scale down again. So now they borrow money they don't have. And that can be pretty rough too. So the amazing story that many people hunt, maybe it's not necessarily the ideal fantasy or dream that you might thought it was going to be. But it can be, of course. But you do need to set yourself up in a more proper way. And it starts in a small ways, for example, design off-ramps in your day. You need to have certain rituals that takes you offline because, as said earlier, this is just 24/7, always open, always online, always bunch of possibilities, So you have to set your boundaries. You have to regulate yourself and go away from your computer. For example, have morning walks without your phone, 10 minutes daily journal check-in, or just have physically for your body, do different activities and exercises where you check in. If you're more an active person, you don't want to journal, but you have to at least reflect or spend some time to try to check in with yourself. Do I have myself with me? Or is there somewhere where I need to pay a little bit more attention? Or for example, no screens past 10 p.m., Reclaim your body. Your nervous system matters more than your portfolio. Eat real food. Move your body. Get sunlight. Just 20 minutes a day can be enough to actually get a positive effect from vitamin D stimulation. Breathe, And watch out for identity fusion. You're not your bags. You're not your favorite influencer. Notice if you feel rage, panic, or grief when a token dips, that's your inner self screaming for help. And it can be important to have those micro moments of mindfulness to recalibrate yourself, to get in touch with yourself. And when you refresh Twitter or X or check the charts, ask, am I here for wisdom or dopamine? Just asking, changing the dynamic. So in that way, you actually can train this awareness of slowly be aware of what might be at play here, of these different invisible enemies that you might be at risk of being exposed to. And then also talk to people, not DMs, not Discord, not voice or FaceTime, but call someone outside Web3 once a week. You need that tether to reality. I mean, sure, if the person is far away from you, you could, of course, call them, a phone call, and then go for a walk in nature. But just trying to prioritize that it is more like, eye contact rather than screen contact. Remember to ground yourself, being in nature, and actually doing something good for yourself. Because if you can't enjoy now, how are you going to supposed to enjoy future? And again, what if that future is not going to happen? Possibly. Is this going to be not worth anything then? All the time you spend, all the worries and the effort you try to put in, and the patience you wanted to keep for so long, has that just been for nothing? So it's so important that you actually still have some time to time in your day where you actually can enjoy just even the small things in your life, because otherwise, you might see yourself slowly turning into these one of these crazy unhealthy cases that we have seen. So, how can we improve Web3 as like communities, I guess? Because we're not just individuals here. We are a culture, and one of the things I think we need to do, and that's kind of also why I pursued the path I've done, is normalizing the mental health talk in Web3 and Web2, but like specifically Web3, because so many are not really aware of this. It's still a very new world, isn't it? Let's talk about some of these breakdowns, anxiety, or burnout, or stress, or dopamine crashes as a normal part of the space, not weaknesses, and share what is your health secrets, what's your longevity hack, how do you cope with this, Educate newcomers on risk and psychology. Alongside wallet tutorials, we need emotional literacy as well, specifically in Web3. That's also why I made the book, the Crypto People's Health Playbook. And that's also why I use it actively with my clients as part of the work. So it becomes concrete, but also very clear that, okay, here are some ideas that you could work with, and then we can customize it to your specific situation if needed. And how to recognize FOMO, how to learn your stress signs, how to take action on them, and thereby take your power back, your self-control back. How to regulate yourself in volatility, both in the bear market when it goes down, but also in the bull market when it goes crazy up. And how to step away. So it's very important. So imagine Telegram and Discord that says it's okay to step away, here's a meditation, here's a journaling prompt, or you've been on for many hours now. Have you considered to maybe drink some water, have a nice meal, do something else, We see it on Nintendo and different consoles, if you've been gaming too much. We should probably have that in crypto as well, to some extent. That could actually work, so people actually, again, train this self-awareness and help to train this self-regulation. And we probably also should have sort of like a foster peer circles, like small human pods inside of, like, for example, NFT communities or your crypto community. Just 3 or 5 people who checks in weekly without taking any time to talk about prices in crypto. Talk about human life, Things that actually also is valuable in your life. And celebrate people who show up rested, ethically, grounded, not just rich and loud. Let's reward sustainability over shock value. Because the truth is, Web3 isn't just about tech, it's about humans. And some of us are not okay right now. So let's stop glamorizing self-destruction. Let's stop pretending the craziest, loudest voices are leaders. Your nervous system is not designed to handle 100x dreams and 80% crashes in a day. This is going to affect your nervous system. I have a really great friend, actually my best friend. He has been in crypto for many years, and he can definitely feel that his nervous system has been affected by this as the years progressed. So it's definitely not healthy in the long run if you expose your nervous system for these kind of stimulants for longer period of time. So take a deep breath, drink some water, touch some grass, and remember, it's not weak to step away. It's wisdom. It's knowledge applied. That's wisdom. And if you have any questions or ideas or suggestions for the podcast, or maybe guests, you maybe want to be a guest. I try to find people who work in tech, mainly Web3, But yeah, if you could find it interesting to want to talk about health secrets, longevity hacks, some of the struggles that you observe in the space, and how we can do something about it, then contact me. There's an email below, joyfuldanish@gmail.com, or go to some of my social medias. Again, links are below, or joyfuldanish.com. And thank you for listening to How to Stay Human in Tech. If you found this helpful, share it with someone that's maybe caught in the loop. And I think that's it. Like and subscribe if you want to. It will be a great support. And again, for limited time, you can book a free session with me. And I wish you all the best, man. And see you around. Take care. Bye. Joyful Danish. Stay human. Is it even still possible to stay human? Maybe it's not too late.